Let's go Atlanta Falcons 16, Tampa Bay Bucks 13. Falcons move into first place in the NFC South at 4-3. Bucks fall to 3-3 after the Saints fell to 3-3 on Thursday night. Of course, the Panthers are winless, so the Falcons are sitting there atop the NFC South. The fantasy community is very upset with Arthur Smith and the Atlanta Falcons because Bijan Robinson had merely one carry.
Yeah.
And was reportedly feeling ill.
Not feeling well.
Feeling well. And the fantasy folks are quite upset.
It wasn't clarified whether what was making him feel ill was Arthur Smith's deployment of his receiving resources. Maybe he was just personally affronted by the use of Kyle Pitts and Drake London. And that was making him feel sick.
I don't know what it was. But Tyler Algier pretty much handled the majority of the workload. You got to see Cordero Patterson again at running back.
Still a baller.
Yeah. And look, I know the Falcons only ended up scoring 16 points. Part of that was Desmond Ritter, didn't get to the end zone in time before he fumbled. We'll talk about that play first in a minute. But the Falcons' offense still looked pretty solid. They created a bunch of big plays in the pass game despite not having Bijan in there.
This apparently was the first time this century that a team or a quarterback has won a game whilst fumbling in the or turning the ball over in the red zone 3 times.
Jeez. Those 3?
Yeah.
He fumbled a snap. He fumbled the ball right at the goal line. There was another fumble in there? What was the other one?
Yeah, I think so. I think he had 3 fumbles, right?
I love it. I love it when you get these never happened before stats. There was some crazy sequences in this game as well. So the Ritter gets in the end zone on a keeper at first. I tagged you on a tweet. I said, Sam's been calling for this, man. Been calling for some Desmond Ritter keepers, and he scores on a keeper in the red zone. But yeah, they got in there a couple times and
then he did it again. Only not so much.
So on that play, the Falcons are up 3 at the time, and Ritter keeps it. Mm-hmm. It was another one. Not that people care about, but I'm watching the million games, and I see him run in. I'm like, oh, Falcons score to go up 2 scores.
Yeah.
And then you come back and they're going through the replay, and it's like, I don't think he got in, because Antoine Winfield tracks him down, knocks it out right at the half-yard line to save the touchdown. Incredible play by Antoine Winfield, which almost saved the game for the Bucs.
Yeah, it turned a 2-score lead into just a 3-point lead with the ball going the other way. This game had 2 plays in it where the magical goal line thing was a factor.
Yes.
People hate this idea of you fumble over the goal line, it's a touchback, blah, blah, blah. So that was one of them. The inches involved between Desmond Ritter scoring a touchdown, going up 2 scores, and Antoine Winfield knocks the ball out. It's actually a touchback. Tampa Bay get the ball. But then the other one was this insane Drake London play where he catches the ball and then sort of dives and gets hit and is reaching out with the ball whilst heading towards the earth head first.
Yeah, he's
and
going
spinning
straight down.
Right.
Reach.
So he's reaching out as his head is coming down towards the turf as the rest of his body is collapsing down on top of him. And the difference was like an inch between on this play. So they're replaying this, and the possible outcomes of this play are he's fumbled out of bounds and he gets the ball at the 2-inch line. He has fumbled over the goal line and it's a touchback, or he broke the plane of the goal line whilst falling towards the ground head first, and it's a touchdown. So they're sitting there at the replay, and the 3 possible outcomes are setting you up at the 1, touchdown, or turnover. And honestly, I genuinely think they're looking at this and they're like, what is the least egregious outcome we can give for this replay? Because honestly, it could be any of them. I would have supported a call of touchdown on that play, given the way the replay showed it.
So I think at the end of the day, he'd certainly.
And the thing, by the way, that sealed it, the thing that they said, oh, this is why it was, is because his finger, as he's falling towards the ground, this hand swipes outwards, just trying to keep balance, and apparently grazed the white turf outside, the white line out. And they're like,
oh, that's what made it?
Yeah, he's out at the 1.
Because there was definitely a replay. If you're not watching the hand, you see the ball barely gets over the goal line
right
after it falls out of his hand. So you would say, okay, that's a touchback.
But it doesn't Yeah, it doesn't really
he was
fall
touching
out of
out
his
of bounds.
hand. He's still got hold of it. Anyway, the reason they were like he's down at the 1 is because a finger like grazed the chalk out, off here somewhere while you're concentrating on this hand with the ball trying to break the plane.
Was that the famous ball don't lie?
No, that was
because the next play, Desmond Ritter dropped the snap, and that was
right.
the
I guess
turnover.
that one was Sunday Night Football. We got one.
No, I know Sunday Night Football was a legitimate one with the
Right.
face mask, but the next play, Ritter drops the snap, and that was a crazy exchange. The entire third quarter, the Bucs fumbled, Falcons get it. They have the Drake London play you just described, which put him at the inch line, and then Desmond Ritter drops the snap, and they turn it over again. And that was well before Antoine Winfield forces the fumble on the goal line. And even after all that, Chris Godwin makes a big play. So the Bucs are down 3, and Chris Godwin makes a big play to get into field goal range, and the Bucs look like they're set up for either a game-winning touchdown or a game-tying field goal. And then with 3:46 left, Baker Mayfield throws an interception. It was a really weird play. I don't think Baker's at fault here on this, that he's throwing a timing out route to the tight end. It's one of those scissors concepts. You got a post by the outside receiver. You have an out or a corner from the tight end. And Cade Otton gets like the timing. This is one of those like install in training camp. You have to get the timing so that the receiver and the tight end are crossing at the exact right time. Well, Godwin, for whatever reason, the timing's off. Otton's route gets stopped. Baker's throwing the ball on time for an out. It looks like it's way wide, and a beautiful interception to seal the deal pretty much for the Falcons. And that was it. Mm-hmm. This was a crazy back and forth game. I mentioned, Ritter. That was when they were down, right? Yeah. Well, that was when it was 13-10. Even to get in to the lead, for the Falcons to get into the lead, big play to Kyle Pitts to get into field goal range. They had a big play to Tyler Algier where number 45 on the Bucs decided to vacate his coverage and leave Algier wide open for the 45-yarder.
Yeah.
There were a few big pass plays in this game by the Falcons. Ritter threw the ball pretty well overall when he wasn't fumbling it.
He wasn't fumbling it. Kyle Pitts made some crazy plays in this. I mean, there was one late on that game-winning drive. There was another one where it was like an out route thrown way inside of him, and he does that Kyle Pitts thing of just reaching back and snagging it one-handed. And they were saying like he trapped it against his back. He didn't even do that because it was facing the opposite direction. He just like snagged it one-handed and then just like hit it behind his own back in the act of sort of, recentering himself and carrying on running. You can understand why the fantasy community gets frustrated with Arthur Smith, It's like you can use these people more than just like, hey, there's 5 tries, there's 5 attempts in the game, and who knows when they're going to come, right? It's going to be random, but be ready. It's like, what? Why are some of these other players getting any attempts? Why are we throwing the ball to Scotty Miller? Why? I know he made a play, but why is he even getting the opportunity?
Because he caught a 46-yarder on his only target.
Who cares? Kyle Pitts would have done that.
Scotty
Throw
Miller
the ball to Kyle Pitts more, or Drake London more. Just stop throwing it to the people that don't belong in the field.
Is the fantasy community grinding the film to see if there are some plays where Kyle Pitts is available, where they're scheming it up for him and it's just not there, or he's taken away by the defense? The fantasy community digging deep into that?
There's plenty more plays that Kyle Pitts or Drake London could be making. I feel like Arthur Smith tries to outthink things too much. There's a bunch of sort of soccer analogies. Like Pep Guardiola used to constantly outsmart himself in the biggest game possible. Like, they're going to be expecting my normal, unstoppable juggernaut of a team, so let's play without any midfielders today. Like, that's how we'll outsmart them. Or there was a line in a sitcom where it's like they were Napoleonic Wars. We're going to station all of our troops in Alaska just in case Boney should try and trick us by coming via the North Pole. It's like, he probably won't, though, Like, just throw the ball to Drake London and Kyle Pitts. You don't need to outsmart it. Like, they're good. They'll win. That's probably a better option than scheming up plays for Jonnu Smith and Van Jefferson and Scotty Miller. It's just easier.
On this Victory Monday for the Atlanta Falcons, the first place Atlanta Falcons, you're going to criticize Arthur Smith. He's just caring about the W.
Yeah,
and
but
they got it.
half the time he doesn't.
Falcons 16-13. I want to shout out David Onyemata. We highlighted him in the preview a little bit. One of the better free agent signings of this offseason, 3-year deal that Onyemata signed. Go watch him. If you're going to go rewatch this game, go check out number 90 for the Falcons. Resetting the line of scrimmage over and over and over again in the run game, plus 5 or 6 pressures as a pass rusher. Onyemata on pace for his best season. He was drafted in 2016, hung out with the Saints and was a really good rotational player for a few years, but he has been just outstanding this year for the Falcons. Calais Campbell had a beautiful strip sack of Baker Mayfield as well. I mean, again, I want to highlight the 4-3 Falcons for all the things that you just mentioned, where they've got these playmakers that they can get the ball to and make it a little bit more explosive on offense and more consistent. The Falcons continue to get really good performances by some of their off-season additions on the defensive side of the ball. So Onyemata, Campbell, Calais Campbell, they deserve some credit, especially what Onyemata's done so far this season.
Onyemata's been great this year.